Yeah, so we just wanted to kind of highlight Myriam's Hope hemp products today. Talk a little bit maybe about, or I wanted to ask you, so like how did Myriam's Hope sort of begin? How did this whole like journey of creating and manufacturing these hemp products, how did that start?
Well, it started with my mom, Myriam. She was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and right after her diagnosis, we were given a really poor prognosis because not only was her tumor not operable, but it was also in a spot where it was going to really affect a lot of her cognitive functions. So the diagnosis was really grim, pretty bad. And so at the time, the only option was chemo. And even with chemo, they said, well, the chemo could possibly extend her life anywhere from 6 months to maybe about a year, maybe 2 years at the most. So I started just frantically researching because I knew about clinical trials, and immunotherapies were not as popular as they are now. They were kind of just starting to come out with a lot of these immunotherapy treatments that they have now. But back then, a lot of them were still in clinical trials. So a few people suggested that I start looking those up. And in looking those up, I came across some studies that had been done on some mice and actually the same type of tumor that my mom had, which was a glioblastoma. And so I read about these studies and they seemed promising. And so when I started researching more on how cannabis can help cancer, I really kind of delved into looking it up more and looking more information on how I could maybe use this for my mom. And so I did, and I came across a couple YouTube videos, joined a few Facebook fan pages, which at the time only had a few people, but a lot of these people were already using it for a lot of different things, and they knew how to make the oils and stuff like that. So through the help of just kind of winging it, but also, having some help through people and YouTube videos, we started making the oils for her. And so in that time, I was sharing her story on social media and had joined a few cancer groups. And so people really started coming to me, asking me, where do you get these oils? Or can you make them for me? Can I buy them from you? And obviously at the time, we weren't legally set up to be able to make them for anybody, sell them, or anything like that. And so in the beginning, I would just share the videos that I learned from, and so a lot of people couldn't make it at home, because keep in mind at the time we started off giving her cannabis, so it was high THC, and the process of extraction when you're doing it at home is not only almost a whole day long, but it smells really strong.
Yes.
So if you live in an apartment, or if you live really close to your neighbors, or they're going to smell it. So a lot of people couldn't do that.
I'm assuming you were doing an ethanol extraction at that time.
Yes. Yeah. With, just, I even forget the name of the little machine that we used to use, but yeah, it was just very at home kitchen stove. Yeah. And so, so it kind of started like that. People were having the same issue that I did of finding it, because when you would call a dispensary or delivery service, back then, most places didn't even know what it was. They never heard of it. They would try to sell you hash oil or wax. And I would explain to them that this isn't what I needed. And most of them didn't know what it was. So people were going through the same issues that I was. They weren't able to find it. Medical grade, like clean oil that you can give somebody that was going through cancer. And so as time went on, it kind of became more and more. And then during that time, actually the Charlotte's Web CNN thing came out, right? Kind of when I was in the middle of going through this with my mom. So then when that happened, that's when people really, really started to be more interested in using cannabis for different ailments and stuff like that. So when that happened, I mean, I was getting flooded with emails and messages and people just really wanting me to, help them. And I could only help them to show them how to make it. I couldn't sell it to them. And keep in mind at that time, I had no knowledge of this industry. I used to be a makeup artist and a hairstylist. My partner at the time, Jeff, he was in real estate. And so we were in completely different industries that had nothing to do with this. And so I approached him and I said, look, I think there's something here. I think that we could really help a lot of people, because people are going through the same thing that I'm going through, that they can't find it. Luckily, I was able to find and make it for my mom at home. And so we kind of thought about it, and I said, okay, let's go and talk to a lawyer. So we did that, and that's pretty much how we started as a medical marijuana collective here in California, which at the time, in the very beginning, we only had high THC products. Because I don't know if you guys are familiar with how when everything first started, CBD was really hard to find. Right. You could not find it. It was like looking for gold. I mean, it was crazy how hard it was to find. And so it kind of just snowballed from there. Once we became a medical marijuana collective, obviously, we had to get recommendations from people in order for them to buy from them to be able to buy from us. We had to have medical marijuana recommendations. And so I would refer them out to a couple different doctors. And one of the doctors that we started working with in the beginning was Dr. Bonnie Goldstein. And so one day she called me and said, I've gotten a couple referrals from you. Where, can I get some information on your products? And so that's kind of how we started making connections with and working with different medical professionals. Is they either started hearing about us, or we would refer them to get their medical marijuana recommendations at the time. And then, it kind of grew from there. That's kind of pretty much how we became
like you were on the forefront.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can say that. I mean, there was a couple other companies out there that were already, they were still small. But yeah, I mean, you can kind of say we kind of came out around the same time that Charlotte's Web did. Even though we were already making the oil before even the whole documentary thing came out on TV and all that stuff. But that definitely pushed everybody's interest, the media and everything. And that's pretty much where we started off. And so what happened is we obviously, after a couple years, we were able to start carrying more and more CBD products. And that became a lot more, people started looking or using it a lot more. And then because we worked with a couple doctors, they would refer us a lot of kids with epilepsy. So we worked a lot, and we still do, with a lot of kids with epilepsy, a lot of cancer patients. So that's kind of how we've always been more, I guess, on the medical side of it, is because of how we got started and the connections and the people that we started working with, which are still medical professionals that we still to this day refer us their patients. And so back in 2016, once the laws changed in California, we decided to kind of separate the company and create Myriam's Hemp. And so what we did is the same CBD oils that we have now, which are, well, back then we only had the three, the daily 25, 50, and the 100. It's the same exact oils that we've always carried. They've always qualified as hemp. We didn't have to change really anything with those. We separated the company out because becoming licensed in California was very hard, very expensive. And so we just decided to drop the cannabis line, the high THC line, and then just continue with our CBD line and just keep adding to it. And luckily it's done really well. We still work with a lot of the same people that started with us back. That's kind of pretty much how we got started. I guess you can say that's like the long version of how Myriam's Hemp got started.
Well, you definitely made it a long way since when you started. Are you guys still a small company, or have you grown a little bit since then?
I mean, we've definitely have grown as far as, especially once we became a hemp company, we were able to ship out of state, because before we were only in California for the first 5-6 years. And then once we were able to ship out of state, we also made we have a UK distributor, so we're also available in about 65 other countries. So we've definitely have grown. Yeah, and then right now we're working on moving into a bigger manufacturing facility where we're going to be able to expand and obviously do a lot more because we've kind of outgrown where we're at right now. But California is there's no hemp laws here. So finding a bigger warehouse and a bigger space out here has proved to be kind of difficult and almost impossible. So we're looking at moving into Nevada next year. So
now is Nevada where you're doing all of your packaging? I know
right. So right now, yeah. But we're going to be moving everything there because right now we work out of California. We bottle. Well, I'm sorry, we don't bottle. We ship out of here. But our facility out there still it's small, and so we wanted to move it here to California because our whole staff lives here. Our office staff, and so we tried looking out here, but it's because there's no laws, a lot of people won't allow it. And it's just a lot more expensive. And so we're going to move everything next year to Nevada.
Perfect. A little bit more efficient.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about like the process of like hemp to oil? Like maybe do you guys grow your own hemp?
So we have contracted grows with a grower out of Oregon. And so what we did with them is we asked them to produce a strain that was identical to what we've always used, and that's what we did. So this particular grower grows just for us, and then it gets extracted, and then we obviously have our own proprietary blends that we like to use because we realized that changing anything as far as like terpene profiles, anything like that was going to really affect, how, especially for people that have been using it for a really long time, sometimes just changing anything, even a slight change in like the THC content, anything like that could really affect the efficacy of how it works for some people. So we made it a point to find a grower that we could really keep the oils exactly the same that way we've had them, and luckily we were able to do that. So we pretty much have him grow for us, and then once he grows, it gets extracted, and then we mix and bottle everything. We do pretty much everything ourselves.
Perfect.
And so I know you said you started with like high THC, and is that why like most of your products now are still full spectrum? Why did you decide to stay with full spectrum products? You guys do have one THC free, I believe it's a daily 25, but most products are full spectrum. Why did you decide to keep on with the full spectrum products specifically?
Just because based off research, anecdotal data, obviously, and from everything that we've seen, we've come to realize that full spectrum, most people just respond better to it. And the way that we've seen this is through, like I said, anecdotal, obviously, the way that we see our customers responding to certain products, and also the way that we see that they respond to when they switch to an isolate product that is different. Even just switching, we've noticed even just sometimes people switching from olive oil to MCT oil makes a huge difference. Not only have we noticed that, but it's something that a lot of the medical professionals and doctors and nurses that refer us patients to have also noticed, because they don't just refer people to us, they refer people to other companies and other brands.
Right.
And I think that's one of the reasons why they've always have kept working for us, because I know we're one of the also few companies that uses the olive oil. A lot of companies use other oils, other MCT oils, other carrier oils, and they have just found that their patients respond better to full spectrum olive oil infused oils. They've had them try different oils. They've had them try MCT. They've had them try CO2 extracted. And not that those are not good. I'm not saying they're not. It's just, when somebody is using a product and they switch to a different product and their response changes, obviously, and then they go back and then they're doing well again, obviously they're responding better to a full spectrum olive oil infused versus maybe a CO2 MCT infused oil. So because we've been doing this for so long, we've been able to kind of gather a lot of data, and we kind of know what people respond best to. And definitely, I would say that, especially for, a lot of like very serious illnesses, a lot of people do respond better to full spectrum. And that's why we've always kept it that way.
And would you say that's more because of the entourage effect?
Yeah.
For most
people? Well, yeah,
right.
The entourage effect. And then olive oil just has a higher bioavailability also. There's some research, and there's actually some research out there. And it's if you read it, it's pretty easy to understand. Some of it's a little scientific, and you kind of have to be a little bit have a little bit more chemistry knowledge when it comes to understanding how it works in the body. But basically, olive oil just seems to have a higher bioavailability in comparison to MCT oil, hemp oil, any of these other short chain fatty acids. Olive oil is a long chain fatty acid. So we've just, like I said, based on just what we've seen with so many people that we've worked with, most people, not everybody, but most people, for the most part, respond better to olive oil.
And for those that don't know what that means your body is absorbing it and uptaking it more efficiently than other oils, which everyone's going to be a little bit different. Their chemistry is a little bit different. So, if something doesn't work with one oil or one product, there's you guys definitely have that covered. If one oil doesn't work, then let's try a different route. Now,
I did want to highlight too, because you guys did come out with the new vanilla flavored options for the daily 25, the daily 50, and those are MCT oil based rather than the olive oil based. So far, our customers have responded wonderfully too. They really, really like it. The flavors are really, really nice.
Delicious.
It's delicious. So what kind of sparked that new product that you guys decided maybe we should do an MCT based with some flavoring versus the olive oil?
Because people wanted it flavored. And we knew that in a retail setting, you typically, if somebody's coming in and they want to take CBD for a daily, they're not looking to, I guess, use it for something like a really serious illness. A lot of times we realize that people will look more for the flavor and the taste, opposed to where, let's say, if you have a kid with epilepsy, the mom's not going to care if the kid doesn't like the way it tastes. They're going to want to make sure that it's going to work really well. So we just found that, especially once we were able to ship out of state, and we started started putting our product in more shelves, we realized that there was really a big need for a variety of different types of oils, but also people wanted flavor and they like the flavor. So yeah, we're really happy with it. I love it. I actually take the daily 50 every day, and it's my favorite. It works really well for me. So yeah, and we really worked on it for a while. It actually took us quite a bit to perfect the flavor. Because we kind of went back and forth and tried a bunch of different flavors. So we're really happy that your guys' customers like it, because we really took a lot of time in making sure that the flavor was perfect.
Are you guys keeping the terpenes into it?
Yes.
With the vanilla? So the blend on that is amazing, because I've had other ones, and you can probably vouch for this as well. The tinctures that have vanilla in there are still very hemp tasting. So it's either overpowering vanilla that they're trying to mask the terpene profile into it, or it's just a synthetic vanilla, which you guys use organic vanilla.
Right.
You can definitely taste that quality in there and just the right amount of terpene. So you guys nailed it on the head with that one.
Thank you. Yeah.
Fantastic tasting product.
It doesn't taste like you're just trying to mask that hemp flavor. The vanilla flavor is wonderful.
So we're not losing any terpenes on that, folks.
Awesome. No.
Getting all the benefits of it, just a new.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you guys have we were super excited about this, because we do sell CBN our customers, our existing customers who use CBN are very loyal to it. And CBN can be used for several things, but you guys have come out with a 150 milligram option and a 300 milligram option. Did you want to talk about those a little bit?
Yeah, so we were finally able to come out with the CBN after a long year of trying to find a good source for it. And we decided to do the two different potencies because from a lot of the research that we were doing, it seems like most people respond better to CBD, or how do I phrase this? A lot of the research says that you don't need high amounts of CBN. So we just figured, if we can give people the option of having, a higher potency and then a lower potency, that way they can pick and choose and see what's going to work well for them. We found that like a lot of people were wanting something for sleep. And obviously with CBD, sometimes people don't, CBD sometimes could be energizing for people. So we needed something that we knew would have a very sedative terpene profile, which CBN does. And
only sedative in the entire plant. Just in case you guys don't know, the CBN is the only sedative in the entire plant.
Yeah, it can also be used too for like minor anxiety and.
Yeah, we've been using it a lot for our customers with anxiety and microdosing. So you wouldn't take, like, if you're on a daily 25 and you're taking a full dropper, you really want to microdose all CBN. Titrate up if need be, but a little bit goes a long way with the CBN. And if you take too much, then you'll get that sleep reaction. But if you're, say maybe you're taking a quarter of a drop or a quarter of a milliliter, if you just drop that down to half of a quarter of a dropper, then you'll reduce the anxiety, but not so much on the sleepy side. So just kind of balance it out and play with it, but it's definitely there for you guys to use it as some tools.
Yeah, and like I said, because it's a newer product, we'd love to hear any feedback that you guys are getting from your customers. I personally started using the CBN at night because sometimes there's some nights where like I cannot fall asleep, and it's actually really been helping me. And what I love about it is that you don't wake up feeling groggy. Like what I was using before is I would take melatonin, and the mistake that I was making is I would lay in bed till like 1 o'clock in the morning and take a melatonin pill, and wake up at like 8 in the morning feeling super groggy, which is very annoying because it's kind of hard to get up when you're feeling so tired. And and so I just found like that the CBN, if I'm not sleeping well and I take it late at night, I'm not going to wake up feeling really groggy and tired and lethargic.
And that's like
one thing that
I think. Sorry, that's just like the biggest feedback that we get off of CBN mostly is that you don't get the side effects that you do with melatonin a lot of the time. So like you said, a lot of the time you might wake up feeling really groggy the next morning. Sometimes for people it can cause nightmares, those sorts of things. We do not get the same feedback with the CBN. People are not waking up feeling really groggy or tired the next morning or having trouble just starting their day. They're not having nightmares in the middle of the night.
And we actually have some products that we use for nighttime that have melatonin in it. It has the CBD and melatonin, but a lot of people, they've tried both, and they'll go back to the CBN every single time.
And
they get to sleep, and then they get the better wake up. It starts to come down around that 4-hour mark, so you wake up refreshed, good night's sleep.
Plus, the beautiful thing with the CBN is you don't have to worry about, if you take a little bit too much. With sleep aids specifically, you have to be very careful because that can be very harmful. But with the CBN, it's relatively safe. If you happen to accidentally take a little bit too much, you don't have to worry about some of the things you would with like pharmaceutical sleep aids, or if you were to take way too much melatonin, which is nice to know that you're taking something that's a little bit more natural and a little bit more safe.
Yeah, that's true. We had thought about putting the melatonin in the CBN, but then we usually anytime that we've come out with any product, we always kind of consult with like the doctors and nurses that we work with, like, hey, what's your opinion about this and this and that? And so we kind of most of them said not to put it in just because of that reason, because a lot of people don't respond well to melatonin. So we kind of figured that we would just leave it alone and just leave it as just a pure hemp product and not mix it with anything else. And I'm glad we did that, because I know that, yeah, I mean, like for me, when I take melatonin too late and I don't get, say, if I take it too late and I'm not getting a full 8 or 9 hours sleep, I'm going to be really groggy the next day. So that's why we didn't add it in there, but we kind of thought about it for a little bit, but we figured it was a good idea just to leave it out.
Well, thank you for leaving it out. I'm a big fan of CBD, and it's one of my favorite compounds. I love it, and I'm glad you left it out. You know, not everyone responds well to melatonin, so if you put it in there, tell them that there's melatonin, and they're probably like, no, I've tried that. They probably haven't tried CBD in it or CBN in it, but they still probably have that negative feedback from when they did try it. So it's good that you left it out.
Yeah.
I believe you cover more diversity leaving it out.
Right, exactly.
And then our next product that we have online is the CBG. So this is another fairly new product that you guys came out with. Probably my second favorite compound. It's everything starts out in the plant CBG. So kudos to you guys doing that good extraction on that. It also has a good flavor, not too terpene profiled. But tell us a little bit about the CBG.
So the CBG, we've been carrying it for, I think it'll be about 2 years. I think we rolled out with it about 2 summers ago. And it's actually one of our best sellers. People absolutely love it. And we see it, I would say that two of the biggest things that we get feedback on CBG that people are using it for, anxiety and for sleep. So
you mentioned sleep. I mean, we also have CBN that does sleep. We know that has the sedative compound into it.
Yeah.
What makes these, either different or one better than the other on sleep, or it depends on your body?
Yeah, I mean, it just really, it just really depends on, right. It depends on how your body's going to respond to it. Obviously everybody's so different. It's really funny because I've had people tell me that CBG, for example, increases their appetite. And then I've had other people tell me that CBG has decreased their appetite. So it really just depends on, obviously, a lot of factors: how much they're taking, their body weight, what other cannabinoids they're taking. It really depends on the person. But that is one of the things that with the CBG, we do get some pretty good feedback on. I would say particularly more than anything is anxiety. Anxiety for pain, with the autism community, which we have quite a few kids that use our products for autism. A lot of them are seeing really good results for behavioral issues. A lot of these kids with autism have very severe behavioral issues and the CBG just seems to really calm them down. Another thing in the autism community that we've also have gotten some feedback on from a few different families is that once they started using the CBG, their child started becoming more vocal. So that's really, that was really interesting. And we've heard that from quite a few people. And there's a autism group that I'm a part of, and it has thousands of members. And occasionally I go through and I like to read what people are saying, not just about our product, but just in general about any products that they're using. And that is something that some of them do say, that their kids are becoming, they might have a child that never said a word ever and started becoming a little bit more vocal once they started introducing the CBG. So there's definitely something there. I mean, obviously they'd have to do research and find out what it's doing or it's affecting these children that, they weren't vocalizing anything. And then they started using the CBG and I'm not saying all of a sudden they're talking full sentences, but even just some of these kids don't say anything. They're completely nonverbal.
There's been more and more research coming out on CBG lately. Over the past 6 months, I've been seeing it blown up in many different states. You can even now just grow hemp that is high in CBG. most of that's being harvested early to capture that CBG.
Right.
There's a lot of research going into CBG at this very moment.
Yeah, it's definitely
articles.
Yeah, it's definitely becoming really popular. I know from going into some of the stores that we visit in person, I know the flower is also becoming really popular. People really like to. I don't know if you guys sell flower in your store.
Yeah, we do. We don't have a CBD, high CBG strain yet, but that is going to be on our list of to do. So.
Yeah, that's definitely something
that help us out with in the future.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely something that because I visit stores in person sometimes. I like to go in person and see what what they're selling and how even stores that we are in locally. And a lot of them do also say that the CBG flower is really popular. So yeah, definitely I think CBG is going to be it's becoming the next CBD craze. Because and not just for we get so much feedback on it for so many different things. I'm sorry,
we do get more people now coming in and like asking for things like CBG. You would have never heard that probably the first year we opened. We didn't get it that often, but maybe within the last 6 months, more people are coming in and just straight up asking, do you sell CBG? Do you sell, like you guys also have CBDA in an isolate or the CBDA, CBD blend. People are asking for those things more and more. I think, more information is coming out. It's becoming.
That means everyone's doing their jobs and we're educating people.
Right.
Right.
Just telling people about CBD and they're like, what is CBD? That's
right. Yeah, I know.
And so you had to kind of cover that stereotypic moment and now they're all embracing it, getting good results. So it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I love the CBD.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you can also have other tinctures besides the CBG. You have the CBDA and the CBD, plus you also have a CBDA by itself. What is the difference in those two? So they both have high CBDA, which is the acidic version of CBD. That means it's non-decarboxylated.
Right.
It's a non-active component of that. So tell me a little bit difference between those two.
A first by itself, and what we started noticing, and a lot of the nurses and doctors that we work with also were sending their patients to us to order both. And so there's some research out there that shows that CBDA seems to enhance CBD. So for example, if somebody's using CBD and it's working, but it's maybe not working as well as they want it to work, and then they introduce CBDA, it just seems to work a lot better. And so we started noticing this a lot with a lot of different people. Now the CBDA, I would say one of the biggest things that we hear about, so it's used a lot with a lot of cancer patients. And there's also some studies that there's certain breast cancer, and I don't know how familiar you guys are with like breast cancers, but there's so many different types of breast cancers. And with breast cancers, they have to be, with any hormone-driven type of cancer, they have to be really careful with how much CBD they take or how much THC they take.
Because it's a COX inhibitor.
Right. Exactly. So a lot of the nurses that we work with started like using the CBDA. I've noticed a lot of breast cancer patients like using the CBDA. And then there is some research, there's some anti-tumoral properties that looks like CBDA might have in certain types of breast cancers. And so that one, and also we've had some feedback on that it works really well for certain menopause symptoms that a lot of women have. We have a couple of the nurses that we work with have given us their own personal feedback on how the CBDA is helping them with their menopause. So I would say that would probably be the biggest thing. Also pain, inflammation. It's really, really good for inflammation. We also do get a lot of feedback on that as well. So the reason we decided to do the 1-to-1 was because people were buying both and trying to figure out how to how to dose, taking both. Yeah. And so that was we kind of realized that, people are buying both of them because they're taking both at the same time. And so we figured we'd make it easier for everybody and just come up with a blend, since so many people were buying both, to use both at the same time.
Now, although it does say it's CBDA and CBD, it is still a full spectrum. So there is trace amounts of other cannabinoids in there, which also do help in the productivity of your receptors opening up, similar to CBG with something else.
Right. Yeah.
They can get in together. So, do we need to have any type of warnings for people who have to take a drug test or work-related?
Oh, definitely. With any of our products. What we tell people is, even with our THC-free, yes, our labs will show that there's no THC in it. However, we can't guarantee anybody not failing a drug test, because we can't, we don't know what other products they might be taking or anything like that. Obviously, our THC-free doesn't have THC in it, but we still tell people, yes, it doesn't have THC in it. However, we don't guarantee not passing a drug test just because we don't know what other medications they might be taking, other products they might be taking, other CBD products they might be taking that might have THC in it.
Right.
So we personally never make that guarantee, but we always tell people, even with our other products, CBG, CBN, any of those products can possibly still have traces of THC that could fail a drug test.
Now, how can one go about looking at a lab for that batch? You guys have QR codes?
We do.
For the consumer to scan and look up the latest reports on that batch?
Yeah, so we're putting the QR code labels in if you open the box on the flap, we usually put the QR code labels. I don't know if all of them have it yet. Right, there you go. So all you do is you open up your cell phone camera and you scan that, and it automatically takes it to our labs. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes it really easy and convenient too for people who are just like, if you don't have somebody, we always have somebody at the shop to kind of help you pick out what might be best for you. But if you're shopping on your own and you don't really, know what's in the product, the QR codes can be a really, really quick way to kind of figure that out. And lab results might seem a little bit scary for someone who has never looked at those before, but they're actually pretty easy to read. They will give you a list of the cannabinoids that can possibly be there, and it'll tell you, none detected for THC. It'll tell you how much is there, or if there's just any at all. So those can be a lot more simple. It's not as scary as it sounds.
And we do post them for your convenience on our website. If you go down to the bottom of the descriptions, it'll say lab results. Just click that link. Yep. So obviously you can't scan the QR code without having the product in hand. But if you go to our website, every single product gets updated with new batches as the batches come in. So if you're worried about drug testing or what's in it, please check out those lab result links and take a second look before purchasing.
Yeah, and then we also carry the topicals that you guys manufacture. I think Aaron was talking about you were doing some kind of...
Yeah, so I actually, I'm doing a 5-week kind of challenge with myself on it. I re-injured my hand a couple days ago doing some drainage over at the farm. And so I re-injured it. I do know I have to get surgery, so in a few coming weeks I'll probably go get surgery. But I started yesterday, and I'm going to start putting it on every single day for the next 5 weeks and still do the surgery. It is important that CBD is not going to fix your problem. You still need to seek medical attention, advice. If they tell you surgery is what needs to be done, still do the surgery, but coordinate the CBD products into it. So that's what I'm going to do. And I have a meeting with my doctor. Her name is Dr. Fajalou. She did great work on my other hand when I cut it with a table saw and reattached my thumb. And I used CBD on that for 5 weeks. So I put this hand through the test. Now I'm going to use this hand and see how well that uses for the next 5 weeks, but still continue to use medical advice and rehab along the way. And I'm going to be posting those updates on Facebook and Instagram along the way, whether negative or good. More than likely, the outcome is going to be good, either hit my goals or exceed my expectations, what I'm looking for. But I'm going to personally do that for the next 5 weeks and see how well that it works for.
Oh, nice. That'll be interesting to see the results.
Now I'm just going to be using the topical for local, because you guys remember, when using topicals, it is just for localized areas. So if you are in pain in multiple locations, I do highly recommend using a tincture or a combination of both. One for the topical, and the topicals normally only last about an hour and a half. Works very, very well for about an hour and a half, and you have to keep reapplying, but reapplying pea-sized amounts. And a lot of times with topicals, people will put it on, and then 4 hours later tell me, well, it didn't work. Well, how was it feeling in an hour and a half, 2 hours? That they forget that they were pain-free for a little bit of time, and then the pain comes back, and that's really all that they remember.
Right.
It is localized, and it doesn't have a long longevity into that. So, through my experience with topicals, they work wonders, but do reapply multiple times, and only use it, again, for that localized area. If you want longevity,
yeah, definitely.
Use a tincture with it, get 4 to 8 hours, and you can also take a tincture you would recommend, normally lasts about 4 hours, correct?
Right, yeah. Or, I mean, 4 to 5 hours.
4 to 5 hours. Now, I've also taken the same oil and put it on a cracker and gotten 8 hours out of it. And that's just because of the way that it's broke down and going through the digestive system. So you can take the same oil. If you want 8 hours out of it, I recommend eating it instead of just doing it sublingually. Kind of play with it a little bit. But yeah, I'm going to do the 5-week challenge. That's what doctor recommended. So I don't have to do no pain pills. I'm not a big pain pill fan.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to bend my hand all kind of ways and re-break it and stuff like that.
Ouch.
So, I'm glad that I have this in my tool bag.
Oh.
Yeah, I know coming in today, I immediately went to it and started rubbing it on, and it was excruciating when I came in, but now it just feels like a normal hand.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Yeah.
It is definitely working. And I'm going to continue to use it throughout the 5 weeks and post those updates for anyone who's interested.
And that topical, too, is 750 milligrams. This is the newer packaging as well. We'll get that opened up. But it's 750 milligrams, which is honestly a pretty good concentration compared to some other things that we do carry. We carry topicals that start off maybe like 100, 200 milligrams and go up to 1,000. So it's a decent concentration. You're getting a good amount for what you're paying for as well. But yeah.
In your opinion, would you say a higher CBD and a topical would be better for those that are trying to compare it to like a 200?
Yeah, definitely. We the topical along with the CBG that is also one of our best sellers. Not just through our online sales, but even like through in our retail stores. People love it, and we're actually considering maybe even coming out with a much higher potency topical as well. Yeah, just because this one works so well that we feel that if we come up with something maybe a little bit stronger, it's going to work even better for some people that have really really super severe pain, like maybe something like what you're going through. But yeah, the topical is very popular, and every ingredient that's in that topical is in there for a reason. It has some benefit to the skin, for whatever the case was when we researched it. But every ingredient in there, we didn't just throw a bunch of ingredients in there. We actually, we did some research. We looked around and see, okay, what makes a really good balm? What could really help people with a lot of different skin conditions? And so I think that's why really the topical works really well. It's been reformulated in the last few years, but it's definitely one of our best sellers. One of my favorite things about it, I hate whenever I put anything that's a lotion that has like an oily base to it and it stays oily. I hate that.
Yes, that's the worst about topicals.
Yeah. The one thing I really love about our topical, when you put it on, it's going to feel a little oily, but I feel like it really gets absorbed into the skin and it doesn't stay oily. So, a few minutes later, an hour later, if I use it on my hands, if I touch stuff, it's not going to leave residue. because I just feel like it really gets absorbed really well.
About a 5-minute rub is kind of where I've got the magic number, and you make sure that you're creating blood flow, but 5 minutes seems to do the trick. And then that oily consistency is gone, and you're just back to soft hands.
Yeah. So I really love that about it. I have found I have a lot of like neck pain issues. I've kind of always had like a bad back, and so I always kind of tend to have like neck pain, and so I use it a lot like on my neck and stuff, and it works really great. I recently sprained or injured my knee, and so I literally went through like 3 tubs of it in like a week because I was putting on so much, because it was really helping me a lot. And we had made some higher potency. We were testing them out, and I tried it, and I was like, okay, we need to carry this because the higher potency one was working really, really well.
1,000 milligrams. That's a magic number.
What is it?
1,000 milligrams.
Well, the one I was using, I think, was 1,200, I believe. We made it.
Better.
Yeah. So I told my partner, Jeff, I'm like, this stuff works really, really good. Like, I mean, our regular one works really good. But for me, because the first week, no, I would say the first 2 weeks after I injured my knee, I mean, it was a constant pain that would not go away. And I would put that on, and I was actually able to sleep because the first few days after I sprained my knee, I couldn't sleep, and the pain was so bad. And I'm like you, I hate pharmaceuticals. I don't like painkillers. The only thing I took was like at the most was like 4 ibuprofens at like 200 milligrams each one night because I could not sleep. The pain was just so bad. But I hate pills. And so I don't really take them if I don't have to. And so I was just putting on so much of that lotion and wrapping it. And it was really helping me a lot. And I'm not just saying this because it's my product, but.
Yeah, well, no, but for like athletes and stuff too, who might injure themselves, but they don't feel comfortable, or they can't take painkillers, or maybe they're afraid to take oils because of drug testing, whether they're professional athletes or not. Topicals can be like a kind of safer option for avoiding taking anything orally.
Mm-hmm.
This is a full spectrum, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
yeah. So because we use. So the oil for example, like the full spectrum oil that we use in our tinctures, it's the same oil that we use to make the lotion. Yeah. So yes, topically you can use it. However, because it does get absorbed in the skin, I mean, we can't say that you won't fail a drug test. So even with our topical, we tell people there's still going to be some THC in it. Be cautious if you have to get drug tested. We always just try to tell people just to be really careful.
Likely.
Yeah.
Chances are definitely going to be less likely when you're absorbing transdermally, but you still always have that option, just like anything.
Yeah.
Right. Just get into the system one way or the other.
Right. Exactly.
Less of a risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, or just like you don't like taking anything orally. It's just a really good kind of substitute for those like oils and stuff, where maybe people just don't like taking anything internally. They can just use a topical instead and maybe feel a little bit more comfortable with that. So it's always good to have like a topical as an option.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we have, for the past 2 weeks, we've been doing a little promotion giveaway for a couple of your products. We did do the drawing before the show today, and I believe you have that name. So if you want to go ahead and announce one for a winner.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Sorry, we lost you for a minute there. So
sorry about that. Yeah. So do you guys want me to announce the name now?
Yeah, go ahead and announce it now, and then we'll see if she wants to either call in or if she's joining us on the chat. We can congratulate her and thank you.
Yeah, so the winner was Tara, and I hope I don't mess up your last name. Tara Krupta? Is that how you pronounce it? I'm not sure. Tara.
Yeah.
Tara Krupta.
Yeah, you can come in store, or you can give us a call. to kind of claim that. Our phone number is 863-606-6115. But will we be reaching out? Yeah, we'll be reaching out to you.
Yeah, we'll shoot you an email.
Okay.
And we'll give you a call as well. And if we can.
Congratulations, Tara.
Facebook. Congratulations. Thank you for sharing us and liking us, spreading the love. Thank you.
Yep, and I think that probably...
And then, do you have any other questions?
No, I think that wraps it up for the most part for me as far as questions go. Maybe just like a general, you know, for the daily 25 to the daily 100. If someone is, you know, maybe starting these products,
a beginner.
Yeah. What might they be able to expect to get out of that?
So it's funny. We just made a video of this last week, but we haven't posted it yet. So if they're beginners, we usually always tell people start with the lowest tincture, which is the daily 25, just to see how you feel, see how it works for you. Obviously, we don't want someone spending, you know, a lot more money than they have to if the daily 25 is all it's, you know, could possibly work for them. And also, we like people to start with the daily 25 and then titrate up from there, which is really what most people do. The daily 25 is usually for like novice users, maybe somebody that's never used any cannabis or any kind of hemp derived product. And then most of the time, if it works really well, but they find that they're increasing their dose, then they'll move up to the daily 50. And possibly even stay there if that works really well for them. Now the daily 100, that's our most potent tincture, which is 100 milligrams per ml. We find now, as far as our customer base and our who we work with, we find that most people that are using the daily 100 are people that have more severe conditions that need to take a lot throughout the day. You know, we have some kids with epilepsy that are taking 500-600 milligrams of just CBD a day. And so that's where typically, or even cancer patients or people with, you know, Parkinson's, dementia, just other things that they need a lot more oil throughout the day. So that's where most of the customer base for the daily 100 is people with more severe conditions. Or if you get somebody that's already used CBD, does not necessarily have a severe condition, but maybe they just need to take a lot more, then they might want to start with like the daily 50 or the daily 100. But we usually tell people, if you're just trying it out and you just want to see how it works for you, start with the daily 25 and then move up from there. The other thing is too, and one thing that we want to point out is, so there's instructions on the box on how much to take, how to start with that, how to start with taking the product. Keep in mind, you don't want to stay with that dose. That's just a starting dose, because we find sometimes when people say, well, it didn't work for me, and we'll ask them, well, what were you taking and how often? And they say, well, I just followed what was on the box. And we ask them, did you increase it? Did you change it? And they're like, no, I just kept it at that dose. Just keep in mind that that's just a dose, a suggested starting dose. It's not where we're saying to stay at if you don't see that it's not working for you. That's just a dose for you to start at, a point to start at, and then move up from there. So that's one thing that we really want to make it clear, because we find that a lot of times, especially newer people that are not maybe being guided by a medical professional or a nurse or have any guidance, tend to stay there. And we find that a lot of times that's not going to work because it's too little.
I hate to cut you off, but we're fixing to run out of time. So we have roughly 30 seconds. So just want to kind of wrap it up real quick. Thank you for all your advice and your expertise on your product.
You're welcome.
You guys are definitely in the right track. Make a lovely product.
Thank you so much.
Customers that are enjoying it. I'm going to continue using it, talking about it a lot. And, maybe we'll do this again with you again in the future.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Thank you guys for your support.